Oh, the Viagra boys?
Viagra boys.
I love Viagra boys.
You're a wizard.
And we're back with the Wizards podcast, the Fantasy Wizards podcast. We're talking about some NFL news going around the league, spreading around like pubic lice. Yep. All right. Break us open. Break the news.
Well, yeah, huge breaking news this week. Trevor Siemian has been signed. That's where you drop, oh, God.
Oh, God.
He's a Simeon. Oh, God.
Yep.
What? Oh.
Yep, he's spreading his Simeon all over. You know, anything's better than Zach Wilson at this point, even just pressure on him with a backup that's different than the McBoyle backup twin. And, you know, Colin Kaepernick, he sent a letter to the Jets. Hey, just give me a chance. You know, he's still out there, bro. That would be the greatest underdog story finish to the season, you know, or to his career. I mean, I think, I would love to see him back in the league, you know, get some good role models going.
You play to win the game.
And we're back with the Fantasy Wizards podcast. And our first matchup is bright and early, 9:30 in the morning on Sunday. I'm going to forget it's that early. Are you going to forget, Garrett?
Yeah, I don't have NFL Plus, so I'll probably wake up and make some breakfast, and all of a sudden the game will be over, and I'm checking. So, really, I don't think there's really any injuries going into this game that you need to be worried about for Sunday morning. But I guess set your lineups Saturday if you have a lot of Falcons and Jaguars players.
I'm going to forget to put Bijan in my lineup.
Well, he should already be there, bruh. This over-under is 43. Jags are favored in London. As far as quarterbacks, you're not ever starting Desmond Ridder. What do you think about Trevor Lawrence? Is he going to regress back to his normal self, or is he going to be projecting down for the rest of the season?
I think he's going to be doing better. He'll do better than he has done. I could see his the tough luck that he's had. Drop passes, things like that will regress, and he'll do a little bit better, but the Falcons' pass defense is really good. So he's not going to do great, but I see things trending up for him, honestly, because they can't really get worse.
Yeah, I definitely see the under-hitting on this game. I mean, the Falcons are just going to run the ball hard, and as far as running backs, are you starting Algier as well as Bijan?
Starting both those guys. They both had pretty down games against the Lions this last week, but yeah, absolutely starting Bijan, but I would start Algiers as well.
How about Drake London? Do you think he's going to show out for his namesake? I think you can start him this week against the Jags pass defense, but really I would shoot your shot on him as the only passing option for the Falcons.
Yeah,
what about
Desmond Ridder's going to emigrate.
On to the Jaguars passing options. Yeah, Calvin Ridley, he should be a great option week to week, but with this bad matchup, I'm not starting any other passing options. You probably have a good shot for tight end with Evan Ingram, but what do you think about him this week?
Yeah, because the Falcons are so tough against the passing attack, I would look elsewhere for tight ends. There's better options out there.
I think he's startable this week, actually. It's really his go-to receiver in tough spots, and I see a lot of tough spots for Trevor Lawrence in this game. What about these defenses? Are you starting either one of them?
I like the Jags defense against Desmond Ridder. I think Desmond Ridder can always provide some points for the opposing defense. The only question is if Bijan and Algiers, if that combo, if they go off, because we know the Falcons are a complete running team, that could shred your defense. So it's risky. You might make up enough points to offset it, but I would not do it.
Yeah, I'm going to start the Falcons for sure.
You don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to bounce back?
No, and this game's overseas. It's just odd timing. I mean, a lot of mistakes happen in these London games. They're kind of odd. If you look at the small sample size, I just think, the Falcons is the defense I'd take here, but I'm not really looking to start either.
All right, what do you think about Travis Etienne?
Yeah, I mean, he's startable week to week. I don't think he's matchup dependent. So I think him, and then just look out for Tank Bigsby this week. I think he's a sneaky daily fantasy start. And if he does well, you're definitely going to pick him up on waivers next week.
Yeah, Tank to me is a candidate to bust out. Not bust out. He is a stash candidate because if ETN goes down, he's a league winner to me. So just keep an eye on him for that. If you have the bench space, put him on your bench, but not a start for sure.
You play to win the game.
You don't play to just play it. Who's our next matchup?
Miami Dolphins at Buffalo Bills. This is a high over-under, a great AFC East matchup. Are you just starting everybody in this matchup?
These are two Titans going off against each other. That Miami offense, after putting up 70 points in the last game against the Broncos, going up against Buffalo, who just stuffed the Washington Manders, going up against that defense. I'm really excited to watch Miami's offense go up against Buffalo's defense. As far as the players, I want to start all of Miami, except for Devon Achane. I know he's the new hotness out there, but it was an outlier matchup. There's going to be better matchups for Achane. Achane is how he would like his name pronounced. But
like 4chan.
Exactly. That's where the name comes from. He's terminally online.
Yeah, he took 3 away, so he just got 1. Achan.
I get it. Nice. Yes, I'm starting all Miami.
Well, look out for Waddle this week. He's still injured on the injury report, so if he is out, do you start Achan?
Achan going off last week had more to do with the Broncos than it did with Waddle being out and positive game script. They got up huge early. So I don't put as much stock in Waddle being out correlating with Achan going off, so I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, Smythe might be a good start at tight end this week just because the high over-under. Just look at some of your options and what you got. So on to the Buffalo Bills. I mean, what about James Cook is cooking, and, obviously Diggs is a great start every week. So any other passing options for Josh Allen would you start?
No, outside of Diggs and Cook, I wouldn't go with any other Bills. What about you?
Yeah, with this high over under, I'm looking more at the Dolphins players and then those two. Bills. I wouldn't shoot my shot at anyone else. And what about these defenses?
It's funny because the Bills defense looked so good last week, but now they're playing the Dolphins. You don't want to play any defense against Miami. The Dolphins defense, this matchup is in Miami or Buffalo?
It's at Buffalo.
I don't want any part of the Dolphins defense either. You can find much better matchups this week.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about better matchups. So on to the next game.
The Bears are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
The Washington Commanders at Philadelphia Eagles.
Hell yeah. I'm excited about this one. Are you excited about this one?
Yeah, it should be a good conference matchup, division matchup. The over-under is 43.5, so not a whole lot, but a decent amount of points.
What do you think about the QBs in this one?
Yeah, I mean, you're always starting Jalen Hurts, so I wouldn't start Howell this week at all. So what about these Commanders, these commie running backs, specifically Robinson? He kind of had a dud last week.
Brian Robinson, I think, is a great bounce-back candidate this week. Wait, I think I'm mixing up Philadelphia. Philadelphia has a great rush defense or pass defense?
Rush defense.
Okay, yeah.
Their pass defense is actually catching up this past week. They did not allow very many points, so
yeah, they started
improving.
off the season poor pass defense. I know that, but yeah, the game's at Philadelphia. I don't know. It could be tough. I feel like if you got Brian Robinson on your roster, you probably don't have many better options. What do you think?
Yeah, I just look elsewhere there. What about Scary Terry?
Scary Terry?
This is a certified hood classic. This is a certified hood
I'm going to roll with
classic.
Scary Terry. I'm not going to go with Jahan Dotson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he might be the only option really receiving wise here. Logan Thomas might be out still. So how about their defense? What do you think about the Commanders' defense?
Against Philadelphia, I wouldn't start him, but they are good options depending on the opponent, but not here.
Yeah, in Philadelphia, who you got? You starting Gainwell this week, even though DeAndre Swift's been balling out.
No, I would not start Gainwell.
Yeah, I would just watch his touches. I mean, he had a good amount of touches this past week, but DeAndre Swift still out-touched him. But, yeah, I mean, they could start time-sharing more and more with Gainwell coming back from his injury. What about Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown? How do you feel about those options?
Yeah, I would start both of them. A.J. Brown, obviously, you're starting every week, and Devonta Smith, maybe you would choose not to play him against the Bills defense or 49ers, someone like that. But against Washington, you certainly have to start him.
What about Godert?
Oh, God.
I know. He's kind of not a great option this week. It's not a high over-under, so I wouldn't really shoot your shot at him as tight end. But if you have to play him, I mean, he might be your only option based on how you drafted and if you picked up a backup tight end. So don't expect a lot of points from him this week. I would smash Philadelphia's defense. I think this is a great matchup at home.
Yeah, definitely Philadelphia. We saw what Buffalo could do last week. I would totally play Philly's defense. I have Goddard on my roster. I don't want to pick up another tight end, so I'm gonna roll with him this week. I think he's got a pretty safe floor, 7 to 8 points. So yeah. All right, on to the next matchup.
You don't play to just play it.
Yeah, this next matchup is Minnesota Vikings at the Carolina Panthers. Over-under is 45. And what are you thinking about these quarterback options if Anthony Dalton is playing?
I would start him. I think he's a sneaky start, actually. So.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins is in your lineup every week. So what about this Cam Akers, Alexander Madison scenario? Are you afraid of starting either this week?
Yeah, that's a tough call. I am afraid of starting either. If I had to start one, I would go Madison. Akers hasn't even really shown anything yet in a Vikings uniform.
Yeah, I would buy Akers low just to see what's going on. You might not even have a week to monitor it, but yeah, I would start Alexander Madison this week, not Cam Akers. What about Hawkinson, Addison, and any other options on this offense?
I would definitely start T.J. Hawkinson. He's shown, even though the tight end position is poo, he's shown to be the best of the poop.
I think he's tight end one right now. And I think, Justin Jefferson, obviously, he's in your lineup week to week. We won't really spend time wasting on players like that. So, yeah, Addison, he kind of had a down week this week, and I'm kind of wary of starting him against this Carolina Panthers defense. They have a pretty good pass defense. And he's on your lineup, or he's on your team. What are you doing, Tim?
Yeah, I personally have Addison. I'm going to start him. I don't think he's had a game under 8 points this week, and he does seem kind of like a Marvin Mims to me. Like he blows up for one play. He's goosed you all game, and then he'll blow up for a play, and save your day. But he's just progressing too quickly for me to not want to start him. And I don't have any other options personally on my roster that I'd rather put over him. But I think he's an okay flex option.
What about Miles Sanders going to Carolina?
Yeah, I think Miles Sanders is a safe option. What do you think?
Yeah, I think he's a safe low floor or high floor, low ceiling. But as far as these pass catchers, if Anthony Dalton is in this game, do you start DJ Chark?
Oh, baby, I thought you were going to mention the other boy. No, I don't want to start DJ Chark, but are you starting the boss?
Yeah. I'm feeling lucky. I think you could start
Are you feeling it? What are you feeling?
I'm feeling you could start Adam.
Yeah, same. I think you got to treat that offense completely differently under Anthony Dalton versus when Bryce Young is out there. So with under Andy Dalton, Adam Thielen just balled out. So
yeah, they could literally win this game if they had Andy Dalton. If Bryce Young is put in this game because they drafted him and they want to develop him, just don't play any of these receiving options at all. So
right, yeah.
What about these defenses? I'm not really looking to start either one of them. How about you?
If I were going to start one, it would be the Vikings defense. Especially if they were playing Bryce Young, I'd be totally down. But against Anthony Dalton, we saw what they just did to the Seahawks defense. I can't recommend them, and certainly would not recommend the Panthers defense either against the Vikings passing attack. No way.
Yeah, Vikings are mad weak, and the Panthers just don't have a good matchup here. So on to the next one.
On to the next one.
You play to win the game.
Who's next?
We got the LA Rams at Indianapolis, the Colts. The over-under is 47.
Oh, God.
So another decent game for over-under. What about Matty Stafford? Are you starting him this week?
Yeah, no, I would throw Matt Stafford out there. He's been pretty good this season.
Yeah,
So.
he's a spot start. I'll put him in this time. What about Akua, Tutu Atwell? Those receiving options.
Atwell, to me, is boom or bust, but he's a pretty good flex play. I put him at the level of like Addison. Maybe both those guys a little bit higher than Marvin Mims. What about you?
Yeah, I'm starting both of these guys. I think really the pass rush is all you have to worry about, and maybe since you saw Matthew Stafford kind of have troubles with the Bengals, that's where you're going to be worried. But I would shoot my shot at both of those guys this week against Indianapolis defense. What about Tyler Higbee? You starting him this week?
I'm not sure how Indianapolis fares against the tight ends, against the tight end position. But I just say the opinion with the Rams there's too many mouths to feed. And as far as passing goes, and Higbee hasn't really put up numbers so far yet this season, and there's plenty of other waiver options on the wire. So for tight end, so that's a no for me, dog.
Yeah, you got a lot of stock in Kyron. I mean, what do you feel about starting him this week?
Kyron, definitely a start for me. He played every single snap against the Bengals last week. And even though things didn't go his way, it was a lot of game script, didn't go his way, play calling. He played every snap, so he's a extreme bounce back candidate for me. Super high on him, and I hope he crushes it this week.
Yeah, I would start him, but I don't expect a lot of points, and adjust your roster accordingly with high-end upside, because I think this Colts defense is starting to find its stride. So
What?
I think the passing options is where I would exploit the Rams' skill positions. What about the Indianapolis Colts? If Anthony Richardson is back, do you put him in your lineup?
Anthony Richardson, I think, is a little too high variance for me at this point. High ceiling, low floor. If you want to shoot for the stars in your lineup, maybe you're an underdog. You can go for it. But if you need a safer option with a higher floor, then I would look elsewhere.
I think you can start him, but I think my only worry with starting him week to week is actually his injury proneness. But I mean, he might just start playing the games a little bit safer because they've had a lot of concussion worries. He's definitely a trade high candidate, sell high. So, what about Zach Moss? You smashed him this week?
Yeah, I'm smashing Moss. He hasn't shown anything he's just proven the haters wrong. That's all he's done so far. And there's a lot of haters out there, but he's proven them wrong in a big way. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing great. I'm not a hater for sure, but just don't expect a lot of points again. It's going to be a tough matchup against these Rams defensive line. So, what about Josh Downs and any other receiving options for the Colts this week?
I think Josh Downs is interesting, but only as a stash. I wouldn't start him. And then Michael Pittman I'd start. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'm not doing Kylan Granson or Ogletree or any tight end options. So what about this defense of the Colts, though, or the Rams? What do you feel about those guys?
Colts defense is a no for me. The Rams defense, because of Anthony Richardson's unpredictability, I think you could do it, but I'd shy away from that.
Yeah, it's a decent over-under, but I'm actually shooting my shot on the Colts defense this week,
Okay.
just based on the pressure that they might get to Matty Stafford. I know I said the receiving options were good, but yeah, I mean,
You think the
it's
Colts
not
defense
the greatest matchup this
is
week.
trending up?
Yeah,
Arrow pointing up for Colts D.
Yeah, I mean, they were on our waiver list this week. They're 5% owned. They're kind of on the watch list for season long for the rest of the season. So,
yeah, I heard Bob Sanders is coming out of retirement. So.
Yeah, he's a hard hitter. We need 5 more of those on this defense. But
We need big old safeties. Okay. All right, that's it for that matchup. Moving on to the next one.
You don't play it, just play it.
Cincinnati Bengals at the Tennessee Titans. We have a lower over-under 40.5 points. How do you feel about Burrow and Chase and Higgins, all these options in the passing game?
I feel pretty good about him in this game. I would start all of them, both all Burrow and both the receivers.
Yeah, we know Tennessee's pretty good run defense. So what about Joe Mixon?
Yeah, this one hits home for me because I have Mixon, and I've been waffling on starting him versus sitting him. It's so tough because this offense is starting to come back, and he does have all the work. There are no backups there getting any work, but Tennessee's run defense is so good. So it's just like, what do you trust more? Do you trust a running back getting basically 100% of the work in a game, or do you trust more the defense is just going to completely shut him down? I don't know. I want to hear your take on this.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just a PPR versus standard leagues. In a PPR, I'd start him. In standard, I would not. So, I mean, you're not going to get a lot of PPR points, but at least he's startable in that format.
Hell yeah. All right.
This is a certified hood classic.
What's next?
So, what about Derrick Henry? What do you do in this scenario here?
I think Derrick Henry's a pretty good bounce back candidate. I would start him. He's dropped a lot of snaps to Tajay. But if you drafted Derrick Henry, you're in that boat. You're not going to sit him for someone else. So.
Yeah, I mean, watch out for Tajay Spears. Maybe pick him up if there's any injuries. You can put in your IR spot if you haven't already picked up Tajay Spears. But
do you think the Titans are going to be shopping Derrick Henry, try to trade him?
Potentially. I mean, I see a lot of teams will just because of his name be interested, but it's going to be hard to find a trade partner with someone that with so many miles and so old. I mean, you're not going to get a lot out of him trade-wise in the real NFL. So, what about Hopkins and Treylon Burks? Are you doing anything with these guys?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, with this low over-under, I would just be wary of some players. Just Chase Higgins, Burrow, and Derrick Henry, really. What about the defenses?
I would start the Bengals defense. Guess we're facing Tannehill and a Titans run game that kind of doesn't know what's going on with Henry. So Bengals for sure. Titans definitely not.
Yeah, that's who I'm shooting my shot on defense as well with this low over under. On to the next one.
You play to win the game.
All right, who we got in the next matchup?
Baltimore Ravens at Cleveland Browns. This is another 40.5 over under. So with Lamar Jackson kind of performing poorly in real NFL, but pretty good for fantasy, what are you doing this week against a tougher matchup?
The Baltimore offense is cratering right now, and against Cleveland, I actually probably would sit Lamar.
Lamar or Brock Purdy? Who would you start?
Brock Purdy against the Cardinals. I'll take Brock. Yeah, there's no rushing upside with Brock like Lamar, but yeah, it's again that's more of like a ceiling versus floor play to me. Like Brock's safer, he's got a safer floor, but Lamar with that rushing always has a high ceiling ability, but his floor could be 5 points this week is what I think. So.
Yeah, it's good to compare. If you have other options with Lamar, I mean, I wouldn't start him, but if you don't, he's definitely a must start for you. He'll still get you, a decent amount of points.
Let's talk about these pass catchers here, particularly on the Ravens.
Yeah, they've been a little sus. I think Zay Flowers
who we thought they were?
Yeah, I think Zay Flowers is a start this week.
You think so? Because he's on my team, and I'm having the same trouble with him as I am with Joe Mixon. It's the case of going up against a defense that is just a stalwart, and despite the player being great, like you start him, you sit him.
Yeah, I mean, with Todd Monken being the new coordinator, I think he's wanting Lamar to. Zay Flowers is his first read. I think if you're a Mark Andrews owner, you need to be really worried, and that's who I would look at other tight end options. But you drafted him so high, you're starting him. But that's where I would pivot this week as far as receiving options for the Ravens. Obviously, Nelson Aguilar had that good week 2, I think. So I wouldn't really start him here either with his low over under. What do you think about Zay Flowers? I mean, you're asking me. You're his owner.
I think I might actually sit Zay Flowers this week. He's not at the level of a receiver that you can really trust, even though he hasn't had a dud game yet. But I don't know. The Browns are just scary to me. So
I understand completely. Deshaun Watson, how do you feel about starting him this week?
Yeah, I would start Deshaun. His arrow's pointing up, it seems like to me. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of actually feeling the opposite. He kind of had a good week. I need to pair a couple weeks with him to kind of be really trustworthy in him. But I could see why you say that. What about Amari Cooper and the receiving options for the Browns? They did really good last week. Are you putting them back in your lineup?
Yeah, I don't see any reason why not to put Amari Cooper in my lineup. He had an amazing week last week. He torched my team.
Could have had more too. Odd ref call there that game, but David Njoku, are you just dropping him at this point?
Yeah, totally dropping him. I mean, what a freaking Njoku.
Yeah, I mean he might be someone you can keep on your lineup, but if there's anyone like Luke Musgraves that he hasn't been picked up and he goes off this week, I definitely can see justifying dropping Njoku after this week. He's not going to have a good week again, so sit him.
Yeah,
and
if you
Elijah
pick up
Moore.
Luke Musgraves and Luke Musgraves goes off and you start him in your fantasy lineup, then he will personally get you tickets to Casey's next concert. So.
Heck yeah. Country music.
Country music. I can't name a Casey Musgraves.
So Cleveland Browns are a great start this week. I wouldn't start the Ravens.
You start Elijah Moore?
I would definitely start Elijah Moore.
Okay.
I think he's going to be a good PPR option rest of the season if Deshaun Watson can string together some good games. But, I mean, I agree with you, arrow pointing up for Deshaun Watson, so that means arrow pointing up for Amari Cooper and Elijah Moore. But
yeah, well, Amari Cooper's arrow is up. I mean, there is no arrow. He's at the top.
Yeah,
of
for
the mountain.
sure.
Yeah.
So on to the next one.
Bears are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
We got Pittsburgh Steelers at Houston Texans, 42.5 over under. The Pittsburgh Steelers, you picking any of them pickings? Pick it.
No, that was Pickens boys. Yeah, I picked George. I would. Kenny, no, don't touch Kenny. Who killed Kenny? I don't know. As far as the wide receivers, I could see a George start. The Muth, tight end. I would go with the Muth as well. We're facing the Texans here, so not the most stalwart of defenses. The running backs are most interesting to me. Najee and Jalen Warren, they're both risky. Both Najee is the safer of the two, but I think Jalen's also a nice flex play, especially in PPR. But yeah,
I agree with everything you said. I mean, George Pickens is definitely arrow pointing up for me, and I mean, the Muth, he's always a good tight end start. So C.J. Stroud, I just picked him up this week. I think he's going to be a good player, but I'm wary of starting him this week based on this matchup. The Steelers' defense is pretty stout overall. Not as much in the passing game, but still pretty stout. The pass rush is what I'm worried about here, actually. C.J. Stroud probably going to get the most pressure he's had, but he's dealt with pressure well. So what does that spell for the receiving options for the Texans? You starting Tank Dell?
Well, I would start Nico Collins in a flex. Tank Dell. Man, Tank Dell has been crushing it lately, but
I think Tank Dell's the flex option.
Oh, you think Tank Dell over Nico?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's getting way more targets now that C.J. Stroud is
So if you're not going to start C.J. Stroud this week against the Steelers, are you going to start him the following week against the Falcons?
Yeah, definitely. I think he has a better matchup against the Falcons.
What about the following week against the Saints?
It'll be a tougher matchup against the Saints for sure. I don't see him as set it and forget it lineup guy, but season long he's going to have great options, especially in playing in the AFC South. So he's got a good overall strength of schedule, but he does have some tough matchups coming up. So,
all right. And what about Mr. Dameon Pierce?
Yeah, I think he's not gonna do well this week based on the matchup against this defensive line, but I will say that if they can get him in the receiving game a little bit more, I know that's not his real style, I think he could have some success here, but I really wouldn't start him this week. I would just try to buy him low again after he's going to have another low fantasy performance. What about you?
Sure, he got low.
Shorty got low.
Yeah, Dameon, you just got to ride him out. I mean, put him on your bench, start him in your flex if you really have to, but don't do it if you don't have to.
Yeah. What about these defenses? I'm starting the Pittsburgh Steelers this week because I see them as a season-long option, and I don't want to drop them, and I couldn't get the Browns. So,
Steel curtain.
What about the Texans, though? They have I already mentioned them as a waiver wire pickup. They're not highly percentage owned. Are you shooting your shot at them this week if you need a streamer?
Yeah, I like them this week against the Steelers. Not very formidable offense as a streamer this week. It's very select teams that you could play them against, but you could do it this week.
Yeah, they're at home, and it's a low over-under. You're not going to get a lot of turnovers, so you just hope it's way under this 42.5, and that's how you're going to get some points.
Cool.
On to the next one. Got them Denver Broncos against the Chi-Town Bears. What a great drop to lead us into this game. So, yeah, those Broncos were embarrassed last week. How do you think they bounce back? Are you starting Russ, Mr. Unlimited?
Actually, both of these quarterbacks are in play for me because of the opposing defenses. I mean, Russ has been quietly doing great this year, and he's facing the Bears this week. I think this is a game where Russ goes off and makes people pick him up on the waivers after this game.
Yeah, I can see him bouncing back. I would love another tall boy, so why don't we make a bet right now? Russ goes under 20 again this week.
You think he's going to go under 20?
I don't, but I'm going to make that bet because I want another tall boy.
Okay, but if I win, then the tall boy cancels out. So you're going 2 or none.
Yep, double or nothing.
All right, it's a bet. Russell Wilson, give me my 20 PPR points, baby.
Yeah. What about Justin Fields?
I'm gonna make on Justin. We can't make a bet on Justin Fields. It hits too close to home.
I think the Denver defense bounces back. I'm not starting him in fantasy, but I don't see Justin Fields doing well this week. Actually,
you don't see him bouncing back against the Broncos.
Nope. Patrick Surtain, number 2, is on this defense. I think he can shut down DJ Moore. That's pretty much his only option. So I really, if he's out there just running with his head cut off, maybe he'll get you 20 fantasy points. But I don't think he gets there this week.
If they let him run around with his head cut off, I don't know why he hasn't been doing that this year. Honestly, that would be great if he didn't have he had his head cut off and started running around. But well, that makes me disappointed to hear that. But I hope you're wrong. I hope Justin Fields has a bounce back game because that's what I'm predicting.
So since you like Russ and Fields, would you start all these options? DJ Moore, Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton. How are you doing?
I would start the Broncos. I can't. I mean, DJ Moore. No, I can't Can't do
Yeah.
it. Can't do it. The Broncos, though, I would go with Sutton. Judy, we have no idea yet what his production could be like. Mimford and Sons, you need a boomer bust option, go for it. But Sutton, most confidence out of all these guys for me.
Yep. So what about all these running backs? Javonte Williams, P. Ryan, Roshan Johnson.
How many times are we going to talk about P. Ryan?
Khalil Herbert. You got a lot of mouths to feed here in the running games.
I think none of them except Javonte, really. I mean,
I put Roshan Johnson in a daily fantasy, a shoot your shot there, because this Denver Broncos just gave up so many rushing, yards last week.
Why are you going to put Roshan in there instead of Khalil?
Just because higher upside, higher talent. Khalil just hasn't really shown that this year. Yeah, he ain't. So, what about these defenses? Are you starting anybody on these?
Well, certainly not the Bears. And I'm not high up on the Broncos either because I'm predicting Justin Fields to have a comeback, and by that I mean over 15 PPR fantasy points.
If he gets over 15 fantasy points, I'll give you a tall boy. So
sweet.
But
yeah. So under that, and that's 3 for you.
Heck yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna be happy.
All right.
But I wouldn't mess with any of these tight end options. So on to the next one.
Yeah.
So the next one is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the New Orleans Saints. The Buccaneers kind of had a poor fantasy performance.
Poor.
Mike Evans kind of saved you last week. What about Baker and all the receiving options?
Couldn't beat your wife with Baker. What did I say?
Yeah, I don't beat my wife.
No.
I'm not one of those losers. Anyways, Baker is not an option for me this week. Tough matchup. I wouldn't expect a lot out of these receiving options, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. But if you had to start one, you're definitely starting Evans, right?
Yeah. If I had to start one. If it's got to be one.
Yeah. Cade Otton, you shooting your shot this week?
Who's that?
He's their tight end. He's getting a lot of routes run, but he's not getting any targets.
For the Buccaneers?
Buccaneers, yep.
No, I don't trust Baker enough to start.
Have you ever seen a horse with an eye patch? That would be amazing. I've never seen one.
Yeah, you've never seen a blind horse?
Well, I mean, just one eye patch.
They have feelings too, and when they lose eyeballs, they get ashamed of going.
I've seen a lot of blind horses because they put those blinders on them.
What?
Anyways,
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
What about Jameis Winston? Obviously, Carr's going to be out this week. You see him as a streaming option at all?
Send out the car. Jameis. Oh man, so interesting. I wonder how he's changed with the years, because he used to be a touchdown boy and an interception boy, to the max with both. But you think he's any different? You think he's if he were the Jameis of old, would you start him?
Yes, I would.
But do you
for
think
nostalgia reasons, I want to start him this week as a streamer just to say I did. But honestly, he's going to start slow. I would be wary of any receiving options like Chris Olave, Rashid, and Michael Thomas. But really, you can start, if you have to, Chris Olave week to week. But, yeah.
So you're going to sit Chris Olave? You're going to sit Chris Olave because of Jameis?
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of a tough matchup this week and a low over-under. I really just see Kamara feasting here with his first game back.
I don't know if he's going to need to take time to get into the groove, It's a wild card. We don't know. It's just like week 1 in the NFL, but for one player. So I know that was very profound.
Yeah, I think Jameis does a lot of shooting or
Deep balls.
Yeah, stealing those crabs. So yeah, actually, he does do a lot of deep balls, but I think he's going to check down to Kamara a lot, and that's where you're going to get a lot of feasting points from Kamara, those in PPR leagues.
Cool, nice. Do we tight ends?
Actually,
Can we talk about the tight ends already?
Jimmy Grandpa got a receiving touchdown last week, but I'm
you're
really
not starting him.
Yeah, and Taysom Hill, I don't see him getting a lot of fantasy points this week either. I know he's kind of used as running back, but still has a tight end designation. But yeah, I mean, he's not really an option for me either.
Yeah, I'm still confused about who he and what he is.
He's just a footballer. That's what he does. It's like if Tim Tebow was still in the league, that's what he would be doing.
Yeah, but isn't he just a cheat code you can pick up and put in a tight end? Like,
sometimes
he doesn't score that many points.
If he was the quarterback, designated as the quarterback, if Jameis Winston does go down, I think he is going to be designated as the quarterback, and that's when you can cheat code start him, because he's going to get tons more rushing. He's going to have the ball every play because it goes through him. Okay. Anyways,
on to the defenses.
Yeah, Buccaneers, I can see starting them this week based on the low over under and Jameis Winston wild card, but I'm looking at the Saints more. What do you think about these defenses?
Yeah, personally, I am starting the Saints this week at home against Baker Mayfield that just got clowned against the Eagles.
Yeah, don't expect a lot of points this week. Just adjust your roster accordingly. But I see Evans and Kamara being the stars here in this matchup. On to the next one.
You play to win the game.
Las Vegas Raiders at the LA Chargers. This is a higher over-under of 48.5. We have Jimmy Garoppolo trying to clear concussion protocol. Do you start Jacoby Myers this week?
No.
Yeah, Devontae Adams is going to get his, but Jacoby Myers might not be a good start if Jimmy Garoppolo is out. He's kind of dependent on Jimmy.
Who's starting if Jimmy Garoppolo's not in there?
I think it's that. Isn't it Brian Hoyer?
Zamir White.
Zamir White, yeah. He's a backup.
Brian Hoyer?
Yeah, I think Brian Hoyer is the backup.
Really? This is like Josh McCown years or what?
Yeah, it's like Josh McDaniels is just he's simping on all the New England has-beens. So
yeah, man, takes me back to Cleveland Browns 0-16. No. Jacoby Myers. Yeah, sure. In the flex if Garoppolo's playing. If he's not, nope.
Yeah, I just see. What about Josh Jacobs? Is he making a comeback this week?
Yeah. Who we're playing again?
L.A. Chargers, baby.
Oh God, that
San Diego Superchargers.
That run defense is pretty good, but you're playing Jacobs in the hope for a bounce back.
Yeah, I mean, I see him in a better matchup this week, so if you're trying to get rid of him, this could be a good sell high moment.
You mean sell low? You have to sell low. Jacobs?
Getting rid of Jacobs. You want to buy him low, sell him high.
Oh, you mean you're trying to if
you want to get rid of Josh Jacobs, I'm seeing him as somebody you want to get rid of the rest of the season, and there might be some Josh Jacobs people that want him. So if he has a good week this week, this is where you need to trade
this
him.
week. Okay,
yeah.
I see what you're saying now.
So who is the tight end options for the Raiders? I don't even remember. Darren Waller's out, so
Max Muncy. I don't know.
Yeah,
that's a baseball player.
Yeah, it's probably the ghost of Aaron Hernandez. About Josh McDaniels simping.
David Ortiz?
Yeah. Big Pappy.
Big Pap.
What about Justin Herbert and all the receiving options? Obviously, Keenan Allen's in, but what are you doing with Jordan Palmer and Quentin Johnston?
What are you doing with Jordan Palmer, Joshua Palmer except spending 30 fab on him? What are you doing? Sure, you'd start either of them. I think you'd start either of them. It's a risk, big risk with either. But if you need a guy to start in your flex, start him.
Yeah,
either one.
I'm really seeing if Eckler's back this week, I'm really seeing him getting all the touches.
If Eckler is back, would you start Palmer or Johnston?
Nope.
Neither one.
Absolutely not.
If Eckler's out, who are you going to?
I'm going to Parham and Gerald Everett.
So you're staying away from the receivers completely,
except for Keenan Allen. That's where it's going, man. I'm calling my shot.
Okay.
Mark it down right now.
Well, we should have answered that other mailbag question from Brevin, which said, "Oh God, why did I spend the 30 fab on Joshua Palmer?" And
yeah, I mean, he's getting his fantasy info from somewhere else, not here. Because if he was listening, he wouldn't have done it. But that's who you shoot your shot on if you wanted those two wide receivers. Because Quentin Johnston's still coming into his own, even though he's the better talent.
Yeah, I'd like to know who's telling people to spend 30 fab on Joshua Palmer so I could give him a...
Heck yeah.
Defenses?
I think the Chargers defense is pretty poor, and the Raiders aren't at home, so I mean it's a higher over/under. I'm not really seeing either of these as options. What about you?
If Garoppolo's out, I would big time start the Chargers D. Josh Jacobs hasn't performed up till now. If Josh Jacobs has another dud game and Garoppolo's out, your Chargers might they could win you the week.
Yeah, I would agree a little bit with that, but I'm not even worried about. I find better options elsewhere, so I'm sitting both of them.
Okay, well we'll see. Tall boy. On to the next matchup.
The Bears are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
So we have the Arizona Cardinals at the San Francisco 49ers. Over/under is 44. So the Cardinals are plus 14. So are you looking at any of these receiving options, passing options, with their point spread being so low?
Yeah, that's a tough one because it's going to be negative game script. Arizona's going to get their clocks cleaned. So that kind of makes you want to go for someone like Hollywood Brown. Going to have a lot of opportunity for Josh Dobbs. Throw to him, but he just hasn't shown anything yet. And with Josh Dobbs being the one thrown to him, I don't think so. And on the San Francisco side, I think I sit everybody but Debo. Is Ayuk back this week?
He might be. I think he's definitely a start if he is.
What about you with the receivers?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't start Rondale Moore coming off a good week last week. With his implied points total being lower for the Cardinals, I really don't think anybody's an option other than, Marquise Hollywood Brown.
So will you start Brown?
I would start Brown. Josh Dobbs might surprise us.
Hey, Josh.
I mean, they did well against the Cowboys last week, so
they could surprise you.
They showed, Las Vegas bookmakers they were wrong, so they might prove them wrong again in this game. So,
but the San Francisco offense is just on another level that the Cowboys is not on. So
some thought that the Cowboys were just as good though, but Trayvon Diggs went down for the Cowboys, and that might have been one of their bookends of their defense. So, I mean, the 49ers aren't really injured on defense, so they could, be right. Vegas could be right in this game. But, yeah, Marquise Hollywood Brown and maybe Zach Ertz is where you find your fantasy value here on the Cardinals side. What about the Connor, you're going to start him, but don't expect a lot of points this week.
Yeah, bad matchup for Connor.
Yeah. But what about the 49ers? Are you going to start? Obviously, we talked about Brock Purdy.
McCaffrey is going to have an amazing game.
Yeah, McCaffrey's going to feast, as always. If Ayuk is in, we start him.
Mm-hmm.
And you said Debo. What about Kittle? What are you doing? Coming off a good week last week.
Yeah, I think he's an okay option against Arizona. If you have him, you probably don't have 2 tight ends on your roster. I would start him.
Yeah, I mean, if Ayuk is out, definitely a hard start. But if Ayuk's in, it's a lot of mouths to feed, and he's shown that he can't get a lot of fancy points with all those options. So I say if one of the fantasy options is out, you can start Kittle.
These defenses, you're smashing San Francisco, Arizona. Arizona was surprising last week.
Yeah, obviously, if you have the 49ers, you're starting them, but they could surprise you again, and that's what you're kind of worried about. It's like, are they gonna ruin your fantasy matchup for your defense? But
yeah, but if David is facing Goliath, you take Goliath every time. That's a terrible example, but because in the story, David beats Goliath.
Yeah,
but
I understand that.
David beat Goliath they fought. Here's what the Bible didn't tell us. They actually fought 100 times, and Goliath won 99 times.
Yep.
The one we hear about is David winning, but
yeah, Bible's hiding a lot of stuff. They only tell you what you want to hear.
Right. They took out the 99 pages of Goliath winning. I wanted to read those.
Yeah.
Anyways.
So yeah, I see.
Welcome to the Fantasy Bible Podcast.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Praise Jesus.
Eyes closed. Close your eyes. Heads down. So, come to Jesus moment. I'm starting 49ers. On to the next one.
Come to Goliath moment.
So we have the New England Patriots at the Dallas Cowboys. Over/under is 43. Patriots have a plus 6.5 point spread. So what do you see as far as the Patriots fantasy options? Mac Jones, probably a sit, right?
Mac Jones is a sit. I see.
Sit that boy down.
Sit down, that boy. Right. I see the football losing about 20 psi of pressure.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
So, Patriots.
They're due for a scandal. Yeah.
Yeah, they're overdue. Who are we playing?
The Cowboys. So Ramondre Stevenson has a bad matchup. Are you starting him?
Yeah, I don't. These questions are hard.
Yeah, I'm starting him. It's kind of a.
You have him on your team, so.
Yeah, I'm starting him. He's going to be in my lineup, but I'm not expecting a lot. I'm hoping.
Tampering expectations.
I can get some high upside somewhere else.
Dampening.
Yeah. What about Kendrick Bourne? You think he has a good? I mean, the receivers feasted for the Cardinals last week against these Cowboys. Do you think? He can do well this week.
And a Kendrick Bourne identity crisis?
Yep.
Sure, man.
Awesome.
Flex him. I would, flex him like that dude.
Yeah, Hunter Henry's going to have a tough matchup. So, as far as tight ends go for the Patriots, too, it's going to be kind of tough.
Yeah.
What about... You said last week that, or last pod, that Dak Prescott's going to have a bounce back. You think he's going to do well this week?
Boy, he was awful last week.
Yeah, he was, but you think that Bill Belichick can game plan and kind of cause him to have a bad week again?
Well, if what they say about Belichick is right and they take away opponent's best
CeeDee
player.
Lamb. Yeah.
Is that CeeDee Lamb or is that Tony Pollard?
It's definitely CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah. Tony Pollard's a great talent, but, I mean, overall, CeeDee Lamb's, their fantasy or their franchise.
Well, that definitely would cut into Dak's production unless he's doing check down passes to Tony. But against the Patriots, I would start him.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sitting Dak this week, and I definitely see Pollard having a good fantasy game this this
positive
matchup.
game script for sure. Yeah, Pollard could be great.
Yeah, CeeDee Lamb's a start. You're going to start him each week, but don't expect too many points out of him. What about Jake Ferguson? You starting him?
Yeah, I like Ferg this week.
Yeah, Fergalicious. He's going to get some this week. Yeah. What about the Dallas defense? Are you starting them this week against the Patriots?
Even without Trayvon Diggs, yeah, against Mac Jones, yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow, this matchup is definitely boring us. So I think you start Cowboys, but not the Patriots defense. On to the next one.
On to the next one.
And welcome back to the Chiefs Fantasy Football Podcast. We have the Kansas City Chiefs versus the New York Jets. What do you think about
Oh, baby. What a matchup.
the Chiefs?
Chiefs and Jets.
Patrick Mahomes in your lineup.
Yep.
Kelsey's in your lineup every week. What are you doing with Pacheco?
Oh, yeah. I mean, positive game script. I like Pacheco this week. What about you?
Yeah, I see. It's
Do
kind
you
of
think
a
CEH is going to get more, or McKinnon?
yeah. I kind of see it another high. They're minus 9.5. So and it's a low over under. I can see these rushing players kind of being messy. I wouldn't start any of them just based on they were kind of all used last week in the same similar type of game. A little bit higher over under against the Bears, but yeah, I mean, I just am only confident in Mahomes and Kelsey in this matchup. What about the receiving options, Rashee Rice and Sky Moore? Are you even touching them?
No, I'm not touching him.
Yeah, you heard it from here. We don't diddle those boys. What about the New York Jets? If Tremor Simeon can boost some of this Zach, is anybody fantasy viable for the Jets this week?
Tremor Simeon. Well, he's not going to have anything to do with the game.
Yeah, but is he going to boost Zach Wilson's game, and will that affect
Is he
the
going to put the
receiving
fear
options?
of God and 99 Goliaths into Zach? Then he might lose his job. Zach has been living with that fear, and it hasn't helped him.
Is this little David? Is this week going to be the week he slays
David,
the Chief Goliath?
No, that'd be amazing though. That'd be really fun.
Yeah,
but no, it's not.
It would be a good game line.
Yeah.
Well,
you're sitting all of the Jets, all of them.
yeah, I think you can start Garrett Wilson based on his negative game script. The Jets' negative game script.
But who's
and
gonna
he's a
throw to
great
him?
talent. But I wouldn't start anyone else. Even Breece Hall. It's going to be a tough matchup against the D line.
Yep.
So I
I'd
would
honestly be scared of Garrett Wilson this week. I mean, yeah, negative game script, and he could get 1,000 passes to him, but can he catch one of them too? I mean, he's an amazing receiver, but the ball is thrown to him.
Yeah,
I don't know. Zach did get that one pass to him week 1 against who was it in the end zone where he did that amazing
catch. I'll bet another tall boy. Garrett Wilson gets over 15
I can't
fantasy points
afford
this
to
week.
lose more tall boys, so we get to cash the first tall boy bets. And then,
How about a cup of tea?
all right, that sounds good.
Awesome.
Good cup of green tea.
So what about the Chiefs defense? Are you starting them this week?
Oh yes.
Yeah, the Jets defense is pretty good, but I wouldn't
against the
start them
Chiefs
against this matchup.
No.
Yeah, there's only a few defenses I would start against the Chiefs, and they're not one of them. So on to the next one.
You play to win the game.
Finally, we're at Monday night. The Seattle Seahawks against the New York Giants. Oh, yeah. He doesn't play for this team anymore, but the over-under is 47. What about Geno this week? Is he going to bounce back against the Giants?
It's tough to say. He's got that narrative. He's coming back to New York. The team that, not the team that burned him, but the same stadium.
Yeah. I think it's kind of a revenge game. I think he comes back. I look at DK Metcalf definitely feasting this week, but
I think it's all the Seahawks are all a function of the Giants. Well, I think Geno and the receivers are a function of the Giants. If the Giants do well, Geno does well. If the Giants do poorly, Geno doesn't have to do well. It's just going to be a KW show like it was last week. But
yeah, that's interesting you say that, because I was just going to talk about Kenneth Walker. I actually think you can expect a lot less points this week against the Giants. They have a fairly decent rush defense. It's not super strong, but I see the Seahawks trying to pass against this defense.
Okay. So you see Geno having a good game because of that?
Yeah, I definitely see.
Who do you see the beneficiary as of? Because there are a lot of mouths to feed in the Seahawks pass game.
It's DK Metcalf. The Giants don't have any cornerbacks that can even remotely touch his skill set. So Lockett will definitely get open this week too. But
is this the week that JSN busts out?
I don't think this is the week he busts out because everybody's healthy. I definitely think he's someone you stash, and if he does do decent this week, try to upgrade him if you need some talent at wide receiver right now. But what about the tight end options for the Seahawks? Are you touching anybody here?
I would touch them if I could name them.
Yeah, I can't name anybody either. I mean, Will Dissly, he might still be there.
Will Dissly still there?
Who knows?
Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson maybe too. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Waller.
Yeah, Darren Waller. I see him bouncing back this week with a high over-under. Yeah, he's definitely a start for me this week. I actually think you can stream Daniel Jones as well. The Seahawks defense is decent against passing, but I still think Daniel Jones is going to have a good game based on his rushing this week. He's going to have a rush TD. I'm calling it right now.
I think the Seahawks defense is going to do great. I disagree with you there. I think they're getting back some pieces this week that they've been missing. So I think they're going to have more of a complete unit this week, and they are going to fulfill the narrative that they had of being a good defense, which they haven't been yet. But this week they're gonna show it.
Yeah, the Legion of Boom 2.0.
The Legion of Gloom is what they've been calling them, but they're gonna stop doing that.
Yeah, I see Matt Breida having a tough game. That's where I'm at. But yeah, I see Darren Waller feasting, and I'm not touching any Giants wide receivers, even though one of them could have a good game. But it's all your opinion on this one. It is a decent over-under. So what about these defenses? Since you like the Seahawks, you're starting them?
I would start them. I think they're pretty safe start. Personally, I am not, but they're pretty high up on my list, my rankings list of defenses.
Yeah, I'm not starting the Giants for sure. I see your point with the Seahawks, and I would shoot my shot if I didn't have a different opinion on the over-under and fantasy performers, but I'm not hating on it.
We have different opinions.
We all should share the world together. Our hands as one.
Just share the fantasy trophy.
Yeah. We should all get participation trophies in fantasy leagues.
Yeah. Especially if you drafted Cooper Kupp and Jonathan Taylor and Christian Watson.
Yeah.
What are the matchups we got? We got 2 Monday night matchups?
No, that's it. There's a one for. I don't think there's another 2 Monday night matchup until the end of the season.
All right, that's going to do it for this show. Y'all can remember to email us in the mailbag, wizardfantasyfootball@gmail.com. That's wizardfantasyfootball@gmail.com without an S.
Also,
no S at the end of wizard.
Like, subscribe, watch every podcast, and maybe just fall asleep to us on silent so we get more views.
Yeah, literally just like put us on in the background. You have young children, just put it on. They'll love it. They'll love listening to it while they're playing Legos or whatever. And
Daddy, what's that curse word mean?
Yeah. Daddy, is it true that books were taken out of the Bible? Well, we're gonna sign off. It's been a long podcast. And y'all,
Peace. Wands up.
Wands up. Keep it magical.